Good morning. How are you all today? I hope you are healthy and safe in your homes. So, children, let us continue with the chapter Adaptations in Plants. As we all know, we were discussing in our last class about how plants adapt themselves to survive in different habitats. So, we will continue with the same. Children, in the last class, we had discussed about the terrestrial plants, the plants that grow on land. Now there can be different kind of terrestrial plants. So in the last video we had discussed about the plants that grow in deserts. Yes children, the climate and the conditions of a desert are very different. Do you remember? A desert is a very dry area with very less amount of rainfall. So very few plants are able to survive in such hot and dry conditions. Do you remember few adaptations of the plants that grow in desert? Yes, desert plants have no leaves. The leaves are modified or changed into spines, and their stems are green because they carry out photosynthesis. Their stem is also very fleshy as they store food and water. So children, keep on revising these features. Now moving on further, today we are going to discuss about the plants that grow in mountains. Children, the plants that grow in mountains are very different from the plants that grow in deserts because the climate of the mountains, the conditions of the mountains are very different from that of the desert. So we will continue studying about the plants that grow in mountains. What do you see in the picture? We see mountains. As you can see, the mountains are so different. They are covered with snow. Yes. So children, have you ever taken a trip to the mountains? Have you ever gone to a hill station? We all enjoy going to a hill station, don't we? Yes, because it's so pleasant there. It is so, the winters, snowfall is there, the mountains are different, they're very unique. So we all love to go and visit mountains. Let us see. Children, the mountains, they are very rocky and the climate also is very much cold. Why? Because the land is so high up. And you know, as we go higher up, the temperature, it gets lesser the temperature, colder it gets. So naturally, the trees or even the animals that live there, they adapt themselves to live under such cold conditions. During winters, many mountain areas they get a large amount of snowfall, and because of these features, very few specific trees and plants grow very well in mountains. They have adjusted themselves, they have adapted themselves to survive in the mountain climatic conditions. So children, we are going to study about how these plants they have adjusted or adapted themselves to grow in mountains. Children, look at this tree. I'm sure you all must have seen it. Do you know its name? Can you tell me which tree is this? Yes, it's a Christmas tree. Children, do you know where this tree lives? What is its natural habitat? Yes, the pine tree, the Christmas tree, they live on the mountains. Hilly areas are their natural habitat. They are its natural home. Children, pine trees have special adaptations that help them to survive and to live in the mountains. The mountains have a very different climatic conditions. The temperatures are low, a large amount of snowfall is there. So these trees, they have special features in them which protect them and help them to survive in such cold climatic conditions. Children, now the first adaptation
that these trees have that help them, which help them to survive in such cold condition is, children, can you see the shape of this tree with the red outline? Can you tell me which shape is this? Is it a circle, children? No. Is it a square? No. It's a kind of a triangle. Children, do you remember the shape of the ice cream cone? Yes. So similarly, this tree is also shaped like a cone. It is conical in shape. This is the first adaptation of the trees that grow in mountains. They all have conical. So the trees of the mountains are conical in shape. Now how does this shape help them to survive in the snow? Children, the conical shape of pine trees allows the snow to slip off easily from the branches of the pine tree. When you go to a park, you slide. How do you slide? You slip off easily from the slide. Similarly, during snowfall, what happens? The snow that falls on the tree, because the tree is shaped like a cone, this snow easily falls off from the tree. This way, the tree is protected from the damage caused by the snow. So, all the trees of the mountain areas, they are mostly conical in shape. So this is their first adaptation, the shape. So children, as you can clearly see in the picture, during snowfall, when the snow falls on the trees, due to the conical shape of the tree, the snow slips off from it. This way the tree is protected in the cold weather conditions of the mountains. Another feature that these trees have, children, is that their leaves are needle-like. They are converted or modified into needle-like leaves. They are not broad, they are not flat, but the leaves are rolled up into fine needles. How does needles help them to survive in the mountains? The needles survive the ice and the snow. So the needles help the trees and protect the trees from the snow. So this is the second feature. What is it? The trees have needle-like leaves. In this picture, you can clearly see that the leaves are needle-like. Here, you can have a view of the real pictures of the trees having needle-like leaves. So this is the second adaptation. Children, the pine trees do not shed leaves throughout the year. You must have noticed that during autumn, the leaves of few trees, they change color and then they fall off. But in case of pine trees, the leaves, they do not fall off. They remain on the trees throughout the year. So such kind of trees are also called evergreen trees. Look at this picture, children. The trees of the mountains, instead of having flowers, have cones. So children, these cones, they contain seeds. And this is the next adaptation, the third adaptation that these mountain trees have. They have cones instead of flowers, and these cones, they contain seeds which protect the seeds from freezing temperatures. Here, have a look. The cones are woody in nature, and inside the cones, the seeds are protected. So, when the time is right, the scales of the cone open and the seeds fall on the ground. So, as you can see in the picture, there is a pine cone with seeds, and there is another picture showing that the cones are present on the plants. Here children, in this picture you can see the beautiful cones hanging from the tree. So children, these coniferous trees use these cones to spread their seeds instead of flowers. That is why they are called coniferous trees. They are the cone-bearing trees.
Trees that grow cones are called conifers.
Children, coniferous trees do not shed their leaves and they remain green throughout the year. So that is why they are called evergreen trees. They remain green throughout the year. Depending on this, the trees can be grouped into two categories, deciduous or conifers. So broadly and largely, all the trees can be classified or categorized into two groups, which is deciduous or conifers. The deciduous trees have broad, flat leaves, and in the deciduous trees, the leaves are shed off seasonally and then the new leaves appear. In coniferous trees, the leaves are needle-like and they don't fall off. They remain on the tree. They retain the needles round the year. So this is the main difference between deciduous trees and coniferous trees. So children, the trees that bear cones are called conifers and they produce needles and cones instead of leaves and flowers. So we have studied up till now that the pine trees are also called coniferous trees or conifers. Here children, in this picture you can see the different types of coniferous tree. These are the examples of the trees that grow in mountains. Fir tree, cedar tree and spruce tree. So you should know the examples of the trees that grow in mountains. It is the fir tree, the cedar tree and the spruce tree. As you can see, most of these trees are conical in shape and their leaves are not broad and flat but they are needle-like. So children, evergreen trees such as cedars, pines and spruce are common trees of the mountains. These trees like the cold climate. They survive in the cold climate because of the features, because of their specific adaptations which we have studied. And that is why we grow many Christmas tree farms are located in these mountain regions. So farming of Christmas tree is done here on the mountains. Here children, the coniferous trees are used for Christmas decoration. These trees can last for many weeks and be decorated with lights and ornaments. Let us revise children. The trees and the plants that grow on mountains, they are adapted to live under cold conditions and the major adaptation are, so children, the plants that grow on mountains, the trees that grows on mountains are adapted to hilly regions by having the following adaptations. They have a conical shape and this feature does not allow the snow to sit on its leaf. The snow easily slips off from the tree and thus protects the plant. Instead of having broad and flat leaves, these trees have needle-like leaves. And these trees do not bear flowers. Instead of flowers, they have cones. And the cones contain seeds and protect them. So children, these cone-bearing trees like pine, cedar, fir and spruce are called coniferous trees. Now children, you have learnt about the adaptations that these trees have which help them to survive in the mountain climatic conditions. Keep on learning them, keep on revising them, and until next time, Thank you, children.